Pride 12 Cold Fury took place on December 23rd, 2000 at the Saitama Super Arena in Saitama, Japan. Almost 27,000 people here to see Pride 12. Was the ticket worth the money? We'll soon find out, but the card on paper looks pretty decent. We start off with an introduction to the cast of tonight's episode of Pride FC titled Cold Fury Episode 12. We run through the roster with the whisper voice, which almost sounds kind of like a robot, like how a 90s robot would sound on low volume. But we come out of that. I'm not going to run through all the names, but they're all here. And we come up to the architectural masterpiece, otherwise known as the Saitama Super Arena. We see Stephen Quadros with some active camera work, which I actually quite like. It's not stationary on him whilst he reads off a sheet of paper or a teleprompter. The cameraman is moving around, zooming in and out, bringing some energy to the opening of the pay-per-view. And now Bas Rutten is here back on commentary to replace Eddie Bravo, who covered the last two broadcasts. But Eddie isn't gone. He's now backstage acting as a reporter. And that cameraman is also putting in a shift. We then go back to Bas and Quadros. We look at Sakuraba versus Ryan Gracie. And I know that I mentioned the camera work already here, and I'll stop after this. But I love it. Watch like the opening to Pride 12 if you want to see what I'm talking about. I can't explain it like I want to, and I can't show the video without getting copyrighted. They're really on top of that. So actually, a few of my videos have been blocked in South Korea for some reason. Shout out to my brothers over there struggling. But that's just from showing the photos of the event, what I can do. The camera work here is very good. I enjoy it. But we run through Kerr and Igor, also Gilbert Yvel versus Fujita. The other fights were or are on the screen, but we'll get to them eventually. First, we have the ceremonial unveiling of the ring in front of this packed arena. It looks amazing. And they're playing Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which I suppose timing-wise we're at December 23rd. I'll allow it. And then they say Santa has brought you all a gift. That gift is the Pride Ring girls running out here in Santa outfits. And this is just ridiculous, okay? I did laugh. Like, they all take off their Santa gear as they get introduced. This was very funny to me. And then I remember this card is nearly 4 hours long. And do we need this to be on here? But I suppose in isolation, it was funny. We then see this mad structure set up in the ring with TVs on it. I don't even know what it is, what its functionality is. It looks cool, but what exactly is the point? They just seem to be setting fireworks off. Like, there was no problem with the old ceremonial unveiling. You have the big fire in the middle of the ring and then the fireworks pop off from the structure above the ring. There was nothing wrong with that. So, like, what is the point of this? Again, look, it's a very funny start, also completely pointless. Speaking of somebody funny and also pointless, Diet Butcher is first up, Alexander Otska. He's taking on Guy Mesger, and Eddie Bravo is in the back with Guy, and he asks him, what was it like to represent Texas in America's Sexiest Bachelor? What the actual fuck is going on here? Guy didn't win. If anyone cares, can we get to a fight, please? Mesger also says the plan is to go after Otska because you have to. Otska does not care about making a fight exciting or not. Brother, you are in the lion's den. How many barn burners did Jerry Bolander have? Or Ken Shamrock? Like, he was part of 2 disgraces against Dan Severn and Hoist Gracie. Even throw Oleg Taktarov in there as well. The gall of you, sir. And by the way, you've hardly been setting the world alight either, buddy. You've had a couple of good fights here and there, but you're hardly Gary Goodridge. But he does have a point though. I don't really care about Otska. Mesger then walks out, and then Otska takes forever to walk out, and when he does, he comes out with some I don't even know what. I actually think I thought it was some sort of Kiss tribute act, but I don't even know what this guy is supposed to be. I don't know if he's the actual thing and he's not trying to be anyone because like he is the thing. I have no words for it. But finally, after 16 minutes and 42 seconds of confusion, the bell finally rings. We get our first fight. We touch gloves and Otska lands a leg kick and another. 1-2 from Mezger. Looks like it missed, but commentary called it like it landed. Mezger then throws a low kick and an attempted body shot, which doesn't land. They clinch in the corner and break. Nothing landed off of the break. Mezger lands a solid right and body kick, which even makes Bashrutin at the commentary desk make some sound effects. Mezger then lands an overhand directly on the chin of Otska, drops him bad, and I cannot believe the referee didn't stop it there. It looked like he was gone. Mezger gets the side mount, starts dropping bombs on him. Otska literally lying there, barely breathing, eating every single one of these punches on the forehead, and the referee finally steps in to mercifully put an end to this just 2 minutes into the first Quadros, with an interesting point that even Igor Vovchanchyn couldn't knock out Otska, but Mezger here landed one straight on the chin and put him out with ease. Great win for Guy Mezger. Nothing much more to say about it. Pretty empty up until the finish, but it was pretty good nonetheless. Next up, Akira Shoji, who barely misses an event here in Pride. I swear to God, I think he's missed 2 events. He wasn't on the best card that Pride done, and I don't think that was a coincidence. He missed Pride 8 and Pride 11, so he's been on the other 11 cards. I don't think he had one good fight, racked up more ring time than anybody else, and for the most part, awful. So he's up against Ricardo Almeida. This is his first pro MMA fight. He has some ADCC medals, but this is his first actual fight. Shoji tries a flying knee out the gate, and Ricardo just turns and clinches him in the corner. We stay there for about a minute before we break, and Jesus Christ, some heavy low kicks, sounding like it makes that whip sound, that proper crack, and then Almeida gets takedown. Nice work there. And he's straight into half guard. He almost gets the mount, but cannot take advantage of it. He gets to the position, but like he's pushed over to the other side into side control, almost gets to mount again, but Shoji has him back in the guard. Almeida gets back to half guard again. Shoji is able to butterfly guard and just holding Almeida briefly before then back to half guard. A lot of transitions on the mat, opening 5 minutes. Like so many transitions with actual no damage or sub attempts being done, just transitioning. And I hate to say transitioning for transitioning's sake, but when there's no damage or attempt to advance, it's just like, what are we doing here? Almeida tries for mount again, but Shoji pops out. Almeida squats for a double leg. I'm not kidding. He squats and waits for Shoji to run at him. He doesn't shoot. He squats and waits. If Shoji had thrown a knee right up the middle, Almeida's severed head would have been in the third row and the fight would have been over, but instead he threw a leg kick. On the squat, oh my God, I can't even believe this. Just way too early. No patience whatsoever. His knee actually ended up landing on Almeida's face indirectly. Almeida was literally planted in a squat. He would have been finished. He got away with one major right there. They clinch and then break, giving Almeida a brief second to collect himself from almost being sent to the shadow realm. I cannot believe this fight isn't over. Almeida lands a couple low kicks and then slips. Shoji grabs a front headlock whilst Almeida is on one knee. Shoji could and should knee Almeida because not all fours are on the ground. He does not have 4 points touching the mat, but Almeida eventually armadillos to the mat because he realizes he's just gotten away with being in grave danger for the past however long. Unbelievable. Almeida escapes back to the feet and throws a knee, half-hearted attempt to take down, and we just descend into a sloppy brawl because neither of these guys are really that good. We're literally just throwing anything, right? Nothing is part of a combination or a setup, just fucking trying shit just to see what happens. Just another shot, another sprawl, some more strikes, and Stephen Quadros says they're slugging it out now. And that's the best way to describe the chaos because there's nothing really else to it. Either a body or high kick Too low for one, too high for another. From Almeida, lands all on the guard of Shoji. Shoji then takes down Almeida. Close guard from Almeida, and commentary is leaning towards Almeida at the end of the first round. And I'd probably agree, but honestly, it's been too close to call. There's nothing standing out either way. Shoji stands at the feet, and Shoji tries a cartwheel to... Oh my god. Shoji tries the cartwheel, but Almeida blocks, and we end the round into the second. They trade low kicks. Shoji and Almeida, both of them are just whiffing nearly every single punch, maybe landing one from a combination. And I say combinations being generous, we're just wildly swinging here. They'll land every single leg kick. Not one will get checked. Every single leg kick will land. Another one from Almeida as he misses a jab, also misses an uppercut, lands a left hook, then misses a right, all while Shoji lands another leg kick, then the two clinch. Shoji gets kneed in the groin, the referee separates them, and then multiple times he squeezes, taps, caresses, cups the penis region of Shoji on some SA type shit. If I was Shoji, I would have punched the referee. What the fuck are you doing? He'll tell you if the cup's broke. Stop fucking groping him, you weirdo. After the restart, Almeida wobbles Shoji with the right hand before Shoji then gets the takedown and straight into guard. Quadros tells us there's 8 minutes left. All I can think is how. I am so burnt out on Akira Shoji. I never want to see him fight again. We will have to see him fight all the way throughout Pride. Shoji is cut badly on the nose. The referee stops the fight to check the cut. They show the replay, and it looks like a left jab broke his nose. Almeida throws up his hands like he's won something and is then shocked when the fight gets restarted, like he's never watched MMA before. We go back to position and they make it back to the feet. Almeida lands nice couple shots and gets taken down by Shoji again. And commentary love this fight. Commentary loves Shoji, and I just do not get it. Between Shoji, Diet Butcher, Matsui, I just do not personally get it whatsoever. We're in guard, nothing's happening. You know it's going to decision. We stand back up. Almeida grabs a leg, eats 2 strikes, then sends one back on the break. I'm so over this fight. And there's still 5 minutes left to go in the round. And I don't know if I'm being unfair because commentary seems to like this. I just do not give a fuck. It could be that I don't care about Shoji, and when you know there's no finish coming, you just check out, because what's the point of watching just shit stand up and guard? You get me? So we end up in the clinch, forced referee break, so we go back to the fight, and again these two just missing punches, landing some leg kicks, slipping on the mat, and then just resorting to the clinch in the corner. After the break, Shoji throws a knee to the body, misses, gets hit with an uppercut lead hook. Then he does a 180 spin as he falls to the mat like a bad UFC 6 animation. He then rolls on the floor. Almeida just dives into half guard. You're not even excited about knockdowns anymore. It's like Shoji is just indestructible, so he can't get knocked out, but he's also terrible, so we're at a stalemate where unless his opponent is just completely buns and Shoji can beat him, it's going to a decision. We get back to the feet, both swing wildly, mostly missing, whilst the crowd makes a lot of noise and commentary's excited. Bas Rutten says this is incredible. Is it? Like, I literally cannot tell you how much I don't care about this. Almeida has a nice takedown. Thank God there's only 30 seconds left. Another decision for Akira Shoji. This time one that he loses. The fight ends with Almeida in mount. Commentary says it's scary how much he was able to dominate Shoji like this. Who does that to Akira Shoji? Just almost everyone. Like, they go on about a fighter like Shoji. Bass says that's scary that he was able to do that. This guy has a record of 8-4-5. And we need to put up with him for 5 more years. Like, all the way to 2005. And he's on the last card against Gilbert Yvel in 2007. Fuck my life. We need to watch more of this. Next up, Eddie Bravo in the back with Enson Inoue. He says he wants a rematch with Igor Vovchanchyn. Fucking hell. Next, Heath Herring. He's up against Enson Inoue. Heath Herring takes a couple of hits from his asthma pump before the fight. Fucking hell. Herring, coming off the back, couple decent wins against Willie Peters. That's less decent. But Tom Erickson, that is more decent. Enson, most recently lost to Mark Kerr and Igor Vovchanchyn, so he's looking to bounce back here. We start the fight with a low kick from Herring. I have no idea what has happened to all technique, all common sense, or the surface of the ring, because people are slipping all over the place. The two trade some clunky stand-up. Heath Herring taps the emote button. Ensign missing a right overhand by about a million miles. Not even nearly within range, not even close. He then has to readjust and find his footing before he then just drops Herring with a left hook immediately after that. Heath Herring then does a 180 spin and nearly slips out of the ring as he's going down to the mat. What the actual fuck is going on with this card? We're an hour in and it feels like we're 12. Seriously. Heath Herring now somehow on top. I don't think he was actually that badly hurt. It must have just been a bad slip. He single legs Ensign now on top in side control and struggles to get a key lock attempt, but Ensign does well to hang on to Herring, who just eventually gives up. Just gives up the attempt. We then stand back up. Body kick from Herring and a takedown attempt from Ensign results in Herring landing on top of Ensign and straight into guard. Herring just spams body shots, and these are some pretty powerful shots that Ensign just eats like they're nothing, not even attempting to block. Some nice hammer fists here from Herring as well. He's able to pass the guard. He's now into side control and is landing some very hard knees. And the angle that the knees are coming from is as though they're in north-south, almost Mark Coleman versus Igor Vovchanchyn style knees, but he's still in side control. We then get a knee to the body, and the referee stops the fight. Ensign didn't tap. He protests from his back on the ground. I don't know about this stoppage. He wasn't really defending the knees. He ate a lot of damage, but nothing I would say so egregious that the fight needed to be stopped. Then again, after the knee to the head, he showed no real response, reaction, attempt to move from the position, better his position, even really defend. And I understand you can't just lie there and eat damage for another 5 minutes. So I somewhat understand, like, it's a stoppage, it's whatever, nice win for Heath Herring. It caps off what's been a terrible hour on the card. And it's all very well and good having that Guy Mesger knockout. The fight lasted 2 minutes, and again, it was pretty empty up until the knockout, but it was a nice knockout. Next up, we have Carlos Newton versus Joel de Oliveira. We've seen Carlos Newton, we've been impressed with his fights, but commentary talk about Oliveira, and as a way to like endear him or introduce him to the audience, they refer to him having a win over Jose Pele Landi, who is, from what I read, a Vale Tudo fighter. And I see he's also lost to Chuck Liddell, but he has a win over Pat Miletich. He would go on to get a win over Matt Hughes. I don't know much about this guy, so if anybody knows anything about Jose Pele Landi, then you can share that in the comments section, because commentary rate him as a really impressive win, and I've never heard of him before, so if anyone could enlighten me, that would be great. But this is our first time seeing Olives. We start with a low kick from him, and then the high kick misses, but another low kick lands for Joe Hill. Inside low kick from Joe Hill opens up the takedown for Carlos Newton, of course, and he is straight into guard. Some body shots from Newton. Joe Hill has just closed up the guard. Newton can't really pass or land effectively. We're just stuck. Carlos tries to stand and pass. We scramble. No real control from either guy. Just complete chaos on the mat. It results in Newton ending up in half guard. So he betters his position from what seemed just like a mess on the floor. And I mean, the crowd applauded. It was impressive, right? It was a lot of motion, a lot of movement, a lot of action, but no real control from either guy. I can't really detail the scramble, but Joe Hill was on bottom the whole time, but he threatened the heel hook whilst Newton looked like he was going for side control, but he'll settle for half guard. From half guard, Joe Hill manages to transition, of course, on bottom back to full guard. He attempts another heel hook, and then we stand back up. The crowd goes bananas. They are loving this. And after being beaten over the head with just nonsense for the last hour, I am not going bananas watching this, but this is the best period of action we've had all night. Low kick from Joe Hill and a big right hand missed from him. Newton closes the distance, throwing his jab out there. Then comes through with a nice straight right hand. And Joe Hill Immediately takes down Newton after that. He wants none of that. Carlos then with the butterfly guard, he's able to reverse the position. Newton is really good. Newton is just really good, and I don't understand why we haven't seen more of him in UFC. We will eventually now that Dana White's taken over, but he should have been on those UFC cards a long time ago. Into side control and then gets north-south on Joe Hill. You could just rain down knees and win the fight right here. I don't know why he doesn't, but he looks for the mount, is forced back to half guard, and now landing some ground and pound for really the first time in the fight. He's actually landing damage whilst being in the dominant position. Joe Hill is almost able to reverse position. Newton stands back up whilst Joe Hill just waits on the ground and beckons Newton to come back to the mat. Into side control, and he then tries for mount again, but Joe Hill with feet on hips forces Newton back, then a huge left hand. And you know what it reminded me of, and this is such a random callback, but remember when Kevin Holland KO'd Souza, and Holland was like on his back and punched up and KO'd Souza, like it was that hard of a punch. It was like that. Okay, it wasn't quite the devastating knockout blow, but just the way he landed it reminded me of Kevin Holland. Newton instantly, after he get hit with that, tried to pass to side control, and he gets there. He gets to full mount, and then is forced back to half guard. Not a lot of action. There's some ground and pound from Newton, but it's mostly just Newton on top trying to tire out Joe Hill. Even with a minute left, there's no flurry from Newton. You can hear on the PA, like the tannoy, they announce 1 minute left. No real springing into life from Carlos Newton. He's just wanting to maintain control to end the round, and he does so. We kick off round 2 with a spinning heel kick. That came out of nowhere from Joe Hill. It misses, but Newton lands a front kick to the body, and Joe Hill goes for the double leg, and it almost looks like a slip from Carlos Newton / guard pull, kind of a mess as we crumple to a heap on the floor. But Joe Hill is in the guard, open guard of Carlos Newton, who's now holding on to Joe Hill. Somewhat role reversal from the last round. He's just preventing any transition. But he's given up points from the judges, I suppose. Newton threatens the armbar, and Joe Hill is forced to then stand back up. Once we get back to the feet, Joe Hill shoots in, and Newton counters with the ghillie attempt. We have an escape, and then we're back to the feet. Joe Hill shoots on Newton. Newton sprawls, nothing coming from that. Back to the feet. Lot of this. Joe Hill body kick, gets caught, he falls to the floor. Newton follows him down to the mat, and now he's on top in half guard. Some general nothing happening. Some body work from Newton, nothing major. It is so quiet. You can hear the cameras at ringside snapping the photographs. We're back to guard, by the way. Still nothing happening. And a little longer of nothing happening. Quadros and Bass are now forced to say that the referee should probably stand this up. And then we get the classic line from Quadros, which I love, where he goes on about how this is actually entertainment and the fans want to see entertainment. They want to see this get stood up. I love that the commentator, this is why I love Bass and Quadros and why they're so good, they actually speak for the fans at the desk. It's like having two fans at ringside, very knowledgeable, and they'll let you know what's happening, which is key at this time because not everybody knows the names of the positions and such. They're knowledgeable, but still have like the fans' perspective and outlook. Best commentary team in the game. I said it. They're just perfect mix. In the 14 Pride events we've looked at, I wonder how many times I've said this, but they are terrific together. We finally get a stand-up with a couple minutes to go. Nice right hand by Joe Hill. The two clinch and trade knees. Couple low kicks from Joe Hill, who then tries a takedown, and a nice counter from Carlos Newton, who then takes Joe Hill down himself, and he's on top of Joe Hill, almost a north-south, but Joe Hill hangs on. He's trying to take the back, forces a quick stand-up. But before the end of the fight, Newton ends the second on top. This was pretty even. To be honest with you, I thought it was going to go to a draw. I thought it was going to be an extra 5 minutes. I think Newton possibly could have edged it. Again, I thought we were going to go to a 5-minute overtime. It wasn't complete domination in terms of damage. Relatively none, to be honest. I thought they could have thought they could have went an extra 5, but if either man was going to take it in regulation time, it was going to be Carlos Newton, and he does take the decision after 2 rounds. They announce him as being from the UK. He is not. He is most certainly Canadian. That's where he's always been billed from. I think he was born in the Caribbean, but he's billed from Canada. He does his celebration and leaves with a trophy. Nothing scintillating, but a fine win, another W from Carlos Newton. With Carlos Newton, you're at least, and I know I said there was a lot of nothing happening, and there was a lot of nothing, but in terms of a grappler, especially for the time, he's more often than not one of the more active grapplers. But next up, we have a banger on paper. Let's see if it delivers. UFC 17 tournament champion Dan Henderson takes on Wanderlei Silva. Good lord, this should be a fun one. We'll see if it delivers. We haven't seen Henderson since UFC 17. Naturally, you put on 2 bangers and then we never see him again. But he's been undefeated in rings. He has wins over Gilbert Vell, Big Nog, and Renato Babalu. Wanderlei had that hilarious non-fight with Gilbert Vell on the last Pride, so we go to stare down before the fight. Wanderlei looks like an animal in there, and Dan Henderson is doing everything he can to avoid all eye contact, just looking at the referee, looking at the ground, staring back and forth. Anything but look at Wanderlei. The fight starts. Wanderlei lands a 4-piece combo. Jab, cross. Henderson's already on the way down. These are the first punches of the fight, by the way. The fight starts 1-2. Henderson already on the way down. But after those first 2, and before he hits the mat, Wanderlei hits him with another 1-2. Henderson with a half butterfly guard here. He's just holding on for dear life. Literally will not let Wanderlei posture. Nothing. Like, will not let him create any space. He's not letting him transition. He's not got a closed guard, but he does have the one underhook hugging Wanderlei, clinging on for dear life, just trying his best to recover. Wanderlei is able to get back to the feet after Henderson does appear to have got his wits back about him. Wanderlei just standing at his feet, hammering calf kicks on Henderson whilst he lays there on the ground. Commentary point out, how will that affect Dan's potential ability to shoot effectively on Wanderlei once he does then stand up. We see this with Sakuraba often, where his work on the legs of his opponent just fucks him up, then leading to a finish later on. We do get a stand up from the referee, and the 2 instantly swing at each other. Both miss, but we clinch up, body lock. Wanderlei lands a wild right hand that looked worse than the one that knocked Henderson down the first time. Henderson then responds with an overhand right, which I'm not kidding, just stun locks Wanderlei in some sort of Fenty lean position. He's hunched over and unresponsive, arms stretched out, but he does not go down. I've never seen anything like it in my life. He's like knocked out cold on the feet standing up. He then eventually falls like a Jenga tower. He falls over in stages. You could hear a fan in the crowd scream timber, but in Japanese, of course, when he fell to the mat. But when he fell, it almost woke him back up. He stands back up and he's still out, by the way, right? But he's able to clinch, basically hanging on to Henderson, and because he's so close to Dan Henderson, Henderson can't actually hit him or shove him off because Wanderlei's stance, he can't push Wanderlei backwards because his feet are dragging. The top of his feet are touching the canvas. He literally has no weight underneath him. You wouldn't be able to push him backwards because he's got nowhere else to go. I'm not kidding. This is one of the most insane sequences I've seen in a long time. Just wild. Henderson ends up then just taking him down because he has no other option. And it's just so fortunate for Wanderlei, but Wanderlei is doing his best to hang on for dear life. We've now just completely switched role reversal, switched positions, and now it's Wanderlei clinging on, hopefully not to get finished. Close guard. We hear the announcement of 5 minutes left in the round. I'm thinking, holy shit, if this was the end of a UFC round, the crowd would be going ballistic, throwing babies in the air, losing their mind. Holy shit, what a round. But these are 10-minute rounds, so we go on. The referee sort of just lets the fight go here to see if Henderson will get the finish, and then we get a slight break in the action to check a cut on Wanderlei's face. Referee let it go on to see if Henderson would be able to stop the fight, but he didn't. So we then stop to check the cut on Wanderlei. And then we restart where we left off with Henderson in Wanderlei's guard. Wanderlei makes it back to the feet off the bottom, swinging like crazy again here in the centre. I can't comment on the technique here. It's just a firefight, wildly entertaining. Like DC would say, they're just fighting. They clinch, and off the break, Wanderlei hits Dan. Dan shoots, Wanderlei stuffs, he sprawls, and whilst he's on all fours, Wanderlei knees Henderson in the head. We get a break, because obviously that is illegal. No yellow card though. We're going to talk about a yellow card that gets given out in a second, but this here should be a yellow card. We restart, another slugfest commences. Wanderlei gets the better of the exchange and a slip by Henderson, not a knockdown, but from the slip he does attempt the double leg. Silva works it almost to a clinch, but he sprawls and takes it to side mount where he lands some hard ground and pound on Henderson. Nasty shots, an attempted soccer kick right there misses for Wanderlei. But then, for whatever reason, Silva jumps into the guard. I suppose the top control will help him score points with judges. But, I mean, I would just stand at his feet and hammer those calf kicks again. He had a lot of success with those earlier in the fight. But Wanderlei, trying to posture up, lands some decent shit. Henderson attempts the armbar from bottom as a means of defence, and now Wanderlei has to stand back up. He then starts hitting those calf kicks now. I asked for that. I appreciate it. Wanderlei then lands a stomp and enters full mount. And this just looks like a murder scene. Wanderlei just killing Henderson. He stands up, stomps the fuck out of him. And the only problem with this is that he was holding the ropes. The referee has to tell him here, keep doing what you're doing, just don't hold the ropes. Like, Henderson is getting stomped the fuck out right now and murdered with ground and pound. Here, buddy, keep doing that. Just don't hold the ropes. Here, ref, Dan Henderson is like barely breathing right now as the round ends. Crazy round. Great round. Loved it right here. One of the best rounds we've seen in Pride. Classic stuff here. Round 2, you guessed it, the two stand and trade punches. And what I will say is, when these two stand and trade, they hit a lot more than they miss. We see other people trade. It's mostly whiffing. We've seen it on this card as well, by the way. But these guys are hitting each other with bombs. The two trade and Henderson shoots. Wanderlei sprawls. When we watched UFC, I can't remember what number it was, right? It might have been 25. I'm just throwing that out there. Wanderlei lost to Tito Ortiz when Tito took advantage of his wrestling ability and Wanderlei's lack of ability in that field. Quadros tells us that Wanderlei has been taking up wrestling training, and that's why Wanderlei has shown marked improvements with his grappling. So good for Wanderlei here. Wanderlei then stands up and just enters the guard anyway. It's not all rosy. It's not all good. But Wanderlei then stands, lands the calf kick, very nonchalant. He could just farm calf kicks and win, but he goes for the axe kick and stumbles over his own feet. Slips again. This mat, I don't know what is wrong with it, but everybody's slipping on it. But as Wanderlei slips, Henderson looks to counter. Another right hand from Wanderlei puts Dan on skates, practically, as he stumbles forward to try and get a takedown, but he doesn't get it. We end up with Dan on his back and Wanderlei landing more calf kicks. After the stand-up, Silva with a nice body kick. Dan tries to pull guard, stumbling backwards into the corner, as Wanderlei is now on top of him in said corner. We get moved closer to the centre. And this feels like the first sort of lull in the action, all fight. This has been at a crazy pace for about 15 or so minutes. 10-minute first round. We're halfway through the second, around 15 minutes. And for the first time in the fight, I can actually say that nothing's happening. So, from the corner, we hear, "Don't let him rest." And you cannot tell me that Dan Henderson, who has been taking a pasting in the second round, is giving Wanderlei a rest here. Jesus Christ. The referee stands this up. Wanderlei gets a yellow card. What the actual fuck? How? They said for stalling. This all started because Dan Henderson tried to pull guard. We got here because Henderson tried to pull guard in the first place. He was getting his ass beat on the feet, and the delusion from the corner saying don't let him rest now while Wanderlei spent the last 5 minutes putting belt to ass is ridiculous. Dan Henderson then gets a yellow card as well. I've seen worse stalling than this. I have no idea why it was a card. And now, just as we get back up, we go right back down. This time, Wanderlei in half guard. And by the way, there's no clock on the screen so far, or so for a checkpoint. You just need to listen out for the voice on the PA mic. They say 3 minutes left. They got a yellow card for lying in guard for a minute. That is fucking egregious from the referee, getting booked for that shit. We've seen worse before. We're going to see worse on this card. Ridiculous. Wanderlei moved from half guard to full mount. Henderson holding on, trying to prevent Wanderlei from posturing up. One arm around the neck, one underhook. Classic manoeuvre. Just trying to hold Wanderlei with a minute left and not get finished. That ends the round. Wanderlei Silva is your winner by unanimous decision, clearly. Wanderlei and Henderson pretty even in the first round, knocking each other down. He didn't technically get knocked down on Silva, but we're counting it. It was he was out cold on the feet. But first round was crazy, loved it. First half of the second round was really good. Wanderlei just came out and went ballistic on Henderson and just took the fight away before Henderson could pull it back. So Silva took the fight easy, dominated the second round start to finish, solid striking, great defensive wrestling, and he spent the entire back half of the round on top. So he takes the undefeated streak of Dan Henderson. Great win. And to be honest, I can't let the last half of the second round take too much away from what was a great fight up until that point. Both guys' stock rises after this one. And we've seen Dan Henderson 3 times. They've all been bangers. So he's batted 1,000 so far as what we've seen. And even after a defeat here, stock still rises. So good for him. Next up, Kazuyuki Fujita versus Gilbert Yvel. This should have been interesting. Yvel got his balls pulverised to smithereens by Wanderlei Silva at Pride 11. And it was very funny and looked very painful. He had then a crazy KO before that against Gary Goodridge with the first strike of the fight, high kick KO. But before that, he get held down and wrestle fucked by Vitor Belfort. So it's been kind of all over the page for Gilbert Yvel so far. You would think that Fujita's path to victory would be to grapple and chin max. You would think. You will see that. Like during his fight with Ken Shamrock, he just ate all of Ken Shamrock's punches, forced Ken to throw in the towel while still on the feet and clinched in the corner. It was like that Homer Simpson boxing match where the guy just beats the shit out of him and he just punched himself out. He fought Mark Kerr, ate a lot of damage early, then spent most of the fight on top of Kerr to get the victory. And before that, he had a submission win in the opening round of the Grand Prix. So there you go. There's the history of these two coming into this fight. We begin with Fujita faking the takedown and Yvel bites on it, sprawls. This shows the sort of lack of grappling that he's got, but Fujita then takes him down afterwards with a double leg. Gilbert trying to stand back up. Fujita switches from the single to a double again, but like this is bullshit because they're so close to the ropes. Gilbert's arse is sticking out of the ring. There's some guys at ringside pushing him back in. This has to be against the rules. This has to be cheating. This has to be illegal. You can hold the ropes to hopefully prevent a spill to the outside. You cannot push the fighters during the fight. What the actual fuck is that? There should have been a break here and a reset because what the actual fuck? Like, stop the fight and just clinch them against the ropes or whatever. You can't push the guy back in. You're actually you're messing with his momentum. And they weren't even referees, they were just guys in tracksuits. I thought they were cornermen. Yvel trying to get back to the feet. Fujita keeps control. Fujita gets to side control, then back to half guard, and we get a little nothing before Fujita then attempts for both a key lock and a Kimura. And it was almost there, but Fujita can't get his hand back round to his own wrists. He just barely couldn't reach. Nice defense from Yvel, but now we're back to square one. Fujita then goes back to attempt the arm lock as his coach loudly talks him through it, literally step by step. Nothing comes of it, even though he had step-by-step instructions. And now we need to hear the same English-speaking voice. I have my suspicions on who it is. It will be confirmed later. But that same English-speaking voice from the corner just screaming Fujita, punch him, punch him. punch him. I'm not kidding. I'll remind you that Wanderlei and Dan Henderson got booked. Both of them got booked. They both got a yellow card for sitting in guard for a minute. We've had a couple submission attempts here, but for the last 9 minutes, we have been here. Half guard. Referee has nothing to say. Nothing. This has been pure stalling from Fujita to weight bully and drain the clock to just take a round. Cannot believe the referee never stood this up once. Has nothing to say to Fujita whatsoever. Like, even after the round ends, here buddy, I'll let you away with one there. None of that bullshit in the second. No attempt to posture up and strike. Nothing. He had a couple of submission attempts, only one being any sort of like, you know, at the worrying stage of, oh, he's almost got it type. Pure stalling, pure bullshit. Turns out the guy giving Fujita that advice on the arm lock was Don Fry. So I suppose that's nice that Don Fry is still involved in the game. He will be back soon enough. Fujita shoots and Gilbert sprawls as he tries his hardest to get back to the feet. He does for a minute before Fujita just picks him up and slams him back to half guard. Need I go on? Did I mention we were in round 2? But yeah, we're in round 2. Picked up, slammed, back to half guard. Why even bother? You know what happens here. Don Fry, I shit you not, all I can hear is him. Even in like over commentary, all you can hear is Don Fry screaming, punch him, armbar, body, punch, armbar. Like, what the fuck? Absolutely nothing from Fujita. Completely vapid fight. A stand-up finally from the referee. But, whoa. We actually get some action on the feet. Who would have thought? Jump knee from Avell actually hurts Fujita. And another one, 2 jump knees. Holy shit. But oh wait, he just chin maxes because he's so fucking dense. Why are all these local fighters, right? And I say local for these Japanese guys that Pride bring in. Why are they so fucking bad except Sakuraba? Fujita is like low-key shit. I know he's dominating Gilbert Avell here, but Gilbert Avell's grappling so bad that like I could dominate Gilbert Avell. Like, Fujita is shit. Chin maxed against Mark Kerr, chin maxed against Shamrock. He's now survived this double fucking jumping knee against Gilbert Avell, chin maxed against Avell, laying prey otherwise. He subbed fucking some guy in the opening round of the Grand Prix whose only losses before him had come via subs. He had 0 grappling. When anybody check the grappling, when anybody check the grappling, he gets subbed. Unfucking believable that Wanderlei Silva and Dan Henderson get booked for 1 minute of guard, and this shit has been allowed to go on the whole fucking fight, no repercussion. What the fuck? And I understand that Gilbert Avell's grappling is not where it needs to be, and I understand that. But watching Fujita for actual skill is completely pointless. It can be entertaining to see how much damage he's going to eat. How much brain damage is Fujita going to get in this one? But between Shoji, Diet Butcher, Alexander Otsuka, Fujita, Matsui, just why? Just why? Why can't all these Japanese fighters be like Ogawa and Sakuraba? Fujita wins as though there was any doubt. Next up, Rico Rodriguez versus John Marsh. Rico in the back saying that when he played football, all his teammates would call him homophobic slurs. He actually uses the word. And he clearly loves WWE because he uses both The Rock's laying the smackdown and also Stone Cold Steve Austin's "that's the bottom line" catchphrase as well. And normally this would get a laugh out of me, but this is no laughing matter. Coming off the back of that bullshit, there is nothing to be smiling about right now. So I appreciate that he's a wrestling fan. Rocking Stone Cold is a fine choice. He has good taste. Kind of a casuals pick for the year 2000, but we'll let it slide. Rico looks significantly bigger than Marsh when we get in the ring. Rico looks for the high kick and he slips, falls and face plants over his own feet. Great stuff. Marsh puts pressure on Rico early, not really landing anything of note, but he does have some good takedown defense. preventing the takedown attempt from Rico and the two clinch in the corner. That is a common theme. The two trade knees to the body. Rico gets a nice takedown, and he is into the center butterfly guard from Marsh. Rico's able to get to side control though. Marsh makes it back to the feet, as it looked like Rico was working towards a choke. Rico then gets the clinch in the corner. I said it would be a theme, and we get a whole lot of nothing. Referee has to split this one up. Rico lands an inside kick and a couple shots upstairs. The two clinch again, and at this rate, I'm ready to start hanging from the ceiling fan that I actually don't have, but you get the point. This is torturous. Limited action. The action that you do get is slow. It just looks low level. I'm making it sound more exciting than it is. The referee has to separate them in the clinch again. It's like a fucking boxing match. Do you know how bad shit has to get for the referee to have to split the clinch and restart twice in as many minutes? We separate and then instantly back to clinch in the corner. What the fuck? What is even the point? Clinch back in the corner, more nothing, and that ends the round. Rico gets the trip and the takedown with 30 seconds left. Into the second. Marsh lands a nice right hand to start. Rico responds with a low kick, another right hand from Marsh, and then a slow motion takedown from Rico, par for the course. And then another body lock against the ropes. 27,000 people fill the Saitama Super Arena for this one, just in case you'd forgotten. See, when I asked, was that money on the ticket well spent? Guess. What do you think? You got 15 minutes of Wanderlei versus Dan Henderson. Was that worth the price of admission? 4-hour card. Rico gets a takedown into side control. Now north-south. I'm not kidding, right? You get to north-south and start landing knees as Rico's doing here, and you still can't finish the fight. You're never finishing the fight. He's telegraphing every knee by slowly lifting each leg. Marsh can see what he's doing and position himself to lessen the impact. Marsh almost reverses the position, then there's a scramble back to the feet. Quadros, both men back to a staring contest in the middle. That summarizes this fight. See, when both guys get back to the feet, Quadros, first thing he says, we're back to a staring contest in the middle. I do love Stephen Quadros. I fucking hate this fight. Bass says it's been a good fight. Quadros pauses for a second, doesn't say anything at all, which is all that has to be said. And then he says it's been a little more on the strategic side, which is such a PR response to this has been so bad. Rico back in the guard of Marsh, a can opener attempt. I wish you could just have like a mutiny rule where the judges can say, here, look, we've seen enough, right? Fuck this. We're not watching anymore. Rico Rodriguez has been in control most of this. There's been barely any damage done. Just call the fight now. But the two... see, having these two fights back to back, 40 minutes. It's 40 minutes of your life you're never getting back. Marsh's corner says you got 30 seconds to get this done. Like, mate, he's been fucking bullied for 20 minutes and on bottom for the last however long. I wonder why the referee didn't stand them up and give them yellow cards. I remind you, Wanderlei and Henderson were down in guard for like a minute. Both yellow carded for stalling. What the fuck's been going on these last two fights? Rico Rodriguez wins. I don't care. And this is like... This is maybe one of the fights on a card that doesn't stink as bad if it's just there on its own and it's the only one of its kind. But over and over and over again on this card, see, if I didn't have to watch all this for a review, I would be skipping plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, plus 10, plus 10 through all of this shit. We get a nice knockout early from Guy Mesger. Wanderlei Silva and Dan Henderson was great. We are 3 hours into this card and 8 fights deep. This thing is fucking terrible. Absolutely horrendous. Did I mention Rico Rodriguez wins? Again, I don't care. Mark Kerr, in an interview, asked about the perception of MMA in America versus Japan. He plays interview bingo. I like Mark Kerr. He speaks well. I am not in the mood for this right now. He's up against Igor Vovchanchyn. And this is a fight I should be excited for. And on paper, this is an insane fight. 2 of the top 10 fighters on the planet, 2 of the top 7 if you watch the Pioneer GOAT list. If you did, thank you. But like and subscribe for more great content, of course. But to have this fight on after the rest of this card is deplorable. Mark Kerr now going by the Titan. He's had more nicknames than anybody should. And the best one was the original one. He went from the smashing machine to the specimen to the Titan. We have seen this fight before. It ended in a no contest after the illegal blows from Igor Vovchanchyn. That was at Pride 7. Fast forward the next year, and at Pride 12, we meet again. The fight starts. Igor does what he does well. He corners Kerr early. Classic Igor Vovchanchyn move. But Kerr is then forced to shoot. Igor sprawls, looks to transition, but Kerr is just a tremendous wrestler. He seriously is. And now Kerr is able to get on top, and he's in the guard of Igor. And Bash Rutten takes the words right out of my mouth when he says, I hope this isn't like the last fights we've seen. There's an apparent head clash or eye poke. It's not quite clear what happens in the fight. Like in real time, it happens quite quick. But the fight is paused, and before the restart, they show a replay. It does look like a headbutt, though Mark Kerr is able to continue, and we go back to guard. Corner asking for Kerr to go to side mount. And whilst that is a nice idea, the history of the Hammer House, whether that's Kerr, Coleman, Randleman, they don't tend to transition too often. They do not tend to pass guard, and we get minutes and minutes and minutes of nothing before the referee finally stands this up. Yellow card. Thank God. +10, +10, +10, +10. We're into that territory. Now, I didn't skip any of this, but I wanted to. How is this fight also so fucking boring? 3 minutes left of the round, and that means we've had 7 minutes of nothing. I swear to God, it's been guard this whole time. Bash Rutten even says that this is not good, and that's his former student in there. That's the kind of honesty that I appreciate from my commentator, although what else could he possibly say? This entire round, pathetic. So fucking bad. The crowd are whistling and booing. That's how bad this has been. The Japanese crowd, the Saitama Super Arena crowd, is whistling and booing. And these two are catching the brunt of it, of course, for this performance. Listen to this lineup they've had to sit through. Okay, Mesger gets a nice KO over the Japanese fighter, Otsuka. It lasted 2 minutes, not really a proper fight, right? Almeida versus Shoji, 20-minute decision. Herring versus Inoue. Herring got a finish, but it's like a dodgy finish. It's like, oh, should the ref really have ended that? Right, it's a disputed, controversial finish. Newton versus Joe Hill, 20-minute decision. Wanderlei versus Henderson, banger, fair enough. Fujita versus Avell, 20-minute decision. Rico versus Marsh, 20-minute decision. Fucking shocking night of fights. Round 2, Kerr with a takedown, into guard again, nothing happening. No attempts to finish, no damage, no action. I literally cannot comment on anything in this fight except the nothingness. The referee stands this up, gives a yellow card to Igor. What the fuck? Like, what the actual fuck? I'm so over this show. I'm so over this fight. Sakuraba is the best fighter in the world, and he's in the main event. I have literally no interest in watching it or any MMA ever again after all of this. Compounded one after the other, shit fight after shit fight. We get Wanderlei and Henderson as some sort of relief. They stand up, and for some reason Igor gets a yellow card and not Kerr. And I mean, for some reason they can lie in guard for the entire fight, and it's not just thrown out for stalling, because if you book Wanderlei and Henderson after 1 minute of nothing, then there's enough time spent here to have these two fighters fucking disqualified, fight thrown out, and we could have done so again for Rico and Marsh and Fujita, all of it against Avell, whatever. See, I'm so flustered I can't even remember who's fighting. After the restart, Igor puts pressure on Kerr. Kerr goes to change levels. When he ducks down, Igor kicks him in the face and ends up on Kerr's back. Kerr grabs Igor's arm and attempts a Kimura with Igor on his back. He's not able to get it. Sort of that's Sakuraba style on Henzo. Gracie, except he was already sort of hunched over on the ground. It wasn't from a standing position. But they stand back up. Igor misses an overhand tear, and then Kerr just takes him down. We're back into guard, and holy shit, Kerr actually passes the guard. Passes the guard to side control. Wow. So this fight, having absolutely no action whatsoever, naturally it's a draw, and we need to watch 5 more minutes of it. Kerr has had the majority of the control. Igor landed the best shot, but we've decided that we need to watch 5 more minutes of it. You heard that right, by the way, as well. The best single shot, there was only one shot. Kerr had the Kimura attempt, which when you see the highlight back, it looks like Igor is in a bit of pain, but they gave the win to Carlos Newton earlier, but we couldn't do the same thing here. We have to watch 5 more minutes. There are torture victims in Chinese dungeons that do not have to put up with this level of abuse. So we start overtime, and of course, as always, it's only these 5 minutes that contribute to the decision of the fight. All that control time means nothing. This is a 5-minute shootout. Whoever wins these 5 minutes takes the fight. Kerr lunges in with a right hand. Igor evades and strikes whilst countering with his own right hand, stuns Mark Kerr, followed up with a couple more strikes which drops Mark Kerr to his knees, and Igor takes backside, starts unloading ground and pound hooks, hammer fists. Kerr tries to stand back up, so to not repeat what happened against Fujita where he just lay there and ate shots. But Igor gets him back down to the mat and Kerr is bleeding. He starts complaining about glove grabbing, which doesn't really appear to be happening. Igor's hand's on Kerr's glove, but it's not like he's grabbing the cuff or anything like that. But we use that lull in the action to create a scramble, crafty move. As we scramble, Kerr ends up on top in the guard again, for fuck's sake. And that's the rest of the round. Bass says initially a draw, but changes his take to Igor. Quadros gives the edge to Igor as well. And so do I. And so do the judges. Igor literally spent 24 minutes on bottom and with one strike takes the fight. You can't even be mad at it, because how do you have 24 minutes or thereabouts of control time and do no damage? So it is what it is. Igor wins, but the fans lose. The fans have lost nearly all night. He throws the celebratory combo and high kick, of course, to finish it off. Good for him, I guess. We hear from Renzo Gracie, who says that Ryan Gracie has ruptured a tricep, but it then cuts to Renzo in the ring saying that Ryan has hurt his shoulder. Doctors have said the fight can't happen, but Ryan and the Gracies are so tough, he's going to fight anyway. The silence is me rubbing my head, because we have excuses already for a loss, and the fight hasn't even happened yet. The card has been a train wreck almost start to finish, and now a main event that I was looking forward to has now been mired in cope before anything has even happened. So now the fight is 1 10-minute round. Why are these rules not in place for all the other fights? All the other fucking bin fires that we've had to sit and what are dumpster fire matchups for my American brothers. We call it a bin over here. This event could be described as a bin fire, if not for Wanderlei, Henderson, and maybe Mesger if you throw that in there. But now the actual main event that I was looking forward to and suffered through this whole card for is now fucked, and we haven't even begun yet. I've never seen a coach, relative, whatever Henzo is to Ryan, I've never seen someone have to come out publicly with notepad and make excuses for their boy before the fight even happens and paint it as though he's being so tough that he's going to fight anyway through all the injury. Let's just start the fight and end this event, more importantly. Sakuraba invested heavily in his mask game. He has this like Santa Christmas themed mask. It's kind of cool, I suppose, but he has half red, half orange hair. Again, looks quite cool. And then the camera zooms out and you see Ryan Gracie hasn't apparently just hurt his shoulder or ruptured his tricep. His entire body must be injured. Is his fucking dick ripped as well? What the fuck is going on? It looks like he's just taken the glove tape, like the blue glove tape, and wrapped it all over his body. His feet are taped, his knees are taped, his shoulders taped. Henzo says that he had a ruptured tricep. It looks like he shouldn't even be able to walk if he's got tape all over his injured parts. Hyen might as well have just rolled out here in a wheelchair and went, guys, I'm hurt. Guys, I am so hurt. I am so injured. Like, I want to fight Sakuraba. Like, I want to fight this guy who's not just about to kick my ass, but he's already kicked my entire family's ass. But I want to fight this guy, and I'm going to fight this guy. I'm just super injured. And he should have done all of that and said all that from the Stephen Hawking wheelchair, and said his voice box was also injured as well. So he has to like communicate through telepathy to his robot chair. What is going on? Why is he wrapped up like this? Why is he pretending to be hurt? First move of the fight, Ryan Gracie throws and misses a powerful straight punch for maximum extension and strain on the injured arm that's apparently got a ruptured tricep and shoulder. The same arm that apparently needs amputated by the sounds of it. He's so badly injured, he throws it straight away immediately. After springing around on his two bad knees and his two bad feet, he's so injured. He definitely isn't coping because he's about to get fucking belt put to ass by Sakuraba. Hyen goes to shoot on Sakuraba. As soon as he ducks his head, Sakuraba comes up with a head kick. Lands hard, but Hyen persists with a takedown, which he can't get. He ends up with a back clinch over Sakuraba in the corner. You know, exactly how Renzo Gracie got submitted. Hyen doing the exact same thing. Smart strategy. The referee breaks this up, and we move back to the centre. Hyen throws a high kick, and we have one of those scenarios where Sakuraba lands a hard left hand as Hyen shoots in. Hyen misses the takedown and also falls to the floor, but doesn't appear to be rocked. And now, like, do you score that as a knockdown? Because technically Sakuraba punched him and he fell to the ground, but he was already kind of on the way. So is it just really a failed takedown attempt? Does it even matter at this point, 4 hours deep? But Hyen gets back up, body locks Sakuraba against the ropes, gets the trip and the takedown. Quite nice here, but no control time. Sakuraba straight back up to his feet and lands a low kick back to the centre. Hyen attempts another takedown and Sakuraba stuffed the attempt, but Hyen remains on the leg, holding on to that single. He attempts the takedown and Sakuraba sprawls. Hyen still will not let go of the leg until Sakuraba transitions, and from the side he grabs a nasty looking neck crank, but he doesn't really get the hooks in. There's no threat of submission. It just looks like a very uncomfortable position for Gracie. And now Sakuraba is on top. Quadros starts running PR saying that, well, you know, Hyen's in a no-lose situation because of his injuries, you know. Sakuraba will have beaten a weakened version of him. This guy's not injured. Sakuraba still on top at backside, nothing really happening. Some knees from Sakuraba being the best shots, and Hyen then jumps up. Back Sakuraba into the corner with a clinch, 3 minutes left to go. An attempted takedown attempt from Hyen results in a Kimura attempt from Sakuraba, and he just stares directly into the camera whilst he twists the arm. It's quite funny. But the Kimura doesn't come to anything. We get to a front headlock in the corner with Sakuraba on top. He tries to turn Hyen into an armbar with a minute left to go. Hyen goes for a heel hook just to try and throw something up, just to maybe get something. That closes the round. That closes the fight. Sakuraba starts smacking Hyen's arse just before the bell goes. Hyen, as soon as the bell rings, Hyen starts grabbing his very uninjured shoulder. We go to the judges. Sakuraba takes this one by unanimous decision. Commentary are looking at who's next for Sakuraba as he gets another win over another Gracie. So it can only be Hickson, right? You think about it, who we've ran through. We got through Hoyler, we got through Hoyce, we got through Henzo, we've now beat Hyen. Hickson is the only one left, surely, right? No. Why would you ever think that? Why would that be the next fight? Sakuraba, why would he ever take on the alleged 400-0 Hickson Gracie? The guy's 400-0. Surely he's not worried about losing a fight. Surely he's not worried about losing a fight in front of people. everybody else takes that risk. The rest of his family took that risk. Surely Hickson is not that insecure about losing his title as being the baddest fighter on the planet. He's beat 400 people. What would one loss be? 400 wins and no losses. 400. We're seriously just pulling numbers out of the air. He swears by 400-0 in fights. You would think that would be verifiable, right? Because it happened. Next up for Sakuraba will be Wanderlei Silva at Pride 13, because we need to find another Brazilian for Sakuraba to face that's not named Ryan Gracie. We see Stephen Quadros, Bashrutin, Eddie Bravo in the back to sign off. Domo arigato, sayonara. That brings Pride 12 to a close. Overall thoughts are going to be so brief. Do not watch this event for anything other than Wanderlei and Dan Henderson. The fact that that fight is on this card disgusts me. The main event, I would say, was inoffensive, but really, it kind of was because of Ryan Gracie's behaviour, wrapping himself up like a mummy, just so he'd have an excuse when he lost the fight. But the actual 10 minutes of the action wasn't that bad. Mesger had a nice knockout. Heath Herring got a finish, even if it is controversial. The rest of this card should burn in hell. Genuinely, we've watched some terrible Pride events, and this may be the worst one. I don't know if it is as bad as them. I'm not going back to rewatch them to compare, but I've had thumbnails throwing these events into the wood chipper, thumbnails literally saying that the hatred has turned to apathy. Believe me, the hatred is still alive and well. But there's a literal emptiness to all, and it does get to that point where you just don't care. It's so bad. And I got to that point on this card. Now that I'm reviewing it for you, the rage is returning. But we've reviewed events that have been branded terrible, and the only thing that can make me say I'm unsure if this was worse is because of the Wanderlei and Henderson fight. And it wasn't even a finish in the last 5 minutes, kind of slowed right down. But fuck this card. Fuck the vast majority of these fights. Fuck this company. But we will be back for Pride 13. Big names are back, and I don't even care about names anymore. I just put some decent fights on, please. No Akira Shoji for UFC or for Pride 13. No Fujita. No Diet Butcher. This is a good sign. And at this point, anything has to be better than the hellscape that we just entered watching this shit show. Which, by the way, brings the year 2000 in MMA to a close. And I mean, we close the year here, and it would be, if we were watching live, it would be my New Year's resolution never to watch again. Like I said, we will be back. But I mean, out west somewhere, Dana White and the Fertitta brothers have bought themselves a fight promotion, and in the year 2001, UFC will have new ownership, a new direction. Hopefully Pride can redirect themselves towards some good cards again. Try and emulate Pride 10, please. Starting with Pride 13, Collision Course, back to the Saitama Super Arena, because we haven't killed the town yet. I'll see you all there.